Welcome to On Second Thought, powered by Hook'em.com. Cedric Golden here with the Duck, Kirk Bohls, and Duck, a friend of the podcast, is joining us. Not only is he the esteemed sports director at CBS Austin, he's also a father. He's also a community activist. ALS Research, Under Blue Skies is the annual fundraiser. And he's new to the podcast game, the host of the Stampede with Vince Young. You're the host. You're not the moderator, Bob Ballou. You're not the moderator. You're the host, Bob Ballou, of the Stampede with Vince Young and Mack Brown. How are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. First and foremost, happy birthday to Kirk. I know that's coming up in a few days, so happy birthday to Kirk. I say this every year to you, but the one thing I always say, you are so appreciative of your birthday, and you always say something about it's one more trip around the sun, and I'm so grateful for it, and I always appreciate you saying that. Number two, you guys need to release a behind the scenes part of this podcast. It will blow up. The things that you guys say it's
Oh,
amazing, and I
you're
wish
trying to get me
everybody else could
fired.
hear it.
You're trying
I'm
to get me fired.
trying. I'm trying.
Um,
But thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
always a blast to be with you guys.
Are you saying we actually say interesting things behind the scenes, but not during the podcast, Bob? I'm not
No,
sure.
no, no, no. I'm just saying there's another level you can take
Oh,
things when nobody else is listening. And
a
sometimes
level,
you want to be a fly on the wall.
a level down. You're meaning, I'm sure.
well, I'm going to tell you, I'm joining you in congratulating Mr. Bowles on his upcoming birthday. I think it's September the 8th. When you're as old as the sun, you can talk about taking another trip. He was in the factory when they made that wax that Hermes ran into way back in the day. So he knows a little bit about the sun. 75 years young, um, and he looks every bit of it. And so, but you know what? We don't want to just sit here and hurl compliments at one another. Right, Duck. Right, Duck. There's a football game coming up.
This
And
one,
before we
another one?
get to San Jose State in Texas, which is easily going to be the most watched football game in America this
Easily.
weekend, said no one ever. I want to talk to Bob first about this podcast, The Stampede, which drops every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcast. First of all, Bob, how did you get Mack Brown and Vince Young to do this, and how much did you pay Vince?
Yeah, no, I just called them and I was like, "Hey, you guys want to start a podcast?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like,
Oh
"Okay,
man,
sweet."
I
So we
knew I
started.
knew it was going to be that easy. I knew that. Why
Doesn't
didn't we
want to
think
work
of
with
that,
Bob.
Doc? Why
Who
didn't we
doesn't want
think
to
of that?
work with Bob? Okay, come on.
We started our parent company Sinclair started podcasts at Alabama and Ohio State were their first two projects. And at Alabama, it's their play-by-play guy, but then it's Trent Richardson and AJ McCarron.
Oh, that's cool.
And
That's
yeah,
cool.
and then at Ohio State, it's the TV guy up there, Dave Holmes, and then it's Beanie Wells and Cardale Jones. And so that was kind of the project that they went into was we want to find different places around the country that have really big followings. And so the one with Texas, they were talking to Mac and Vince, and they needed a host, and obviously I was a thought, but I keep saying I really want to thank my general manager Amy Villarreal for everything she
Love
did
it.
to push
Love
me
it.
on them and so I interviewed for it and got it. And I'll be honest, guys. We've done this a long time. We've dealt with a lot of really good people throughout. You can name a million of them. The guys that we've covered over the years. Um, Mac and Vince have really embraced this, and it's been really cool to watch. I think Mac now knowing his coaching days are behind him, and he in fact
Are
one of the
they?
things he said when we
Are
started
they?
this.
Are they behind him?
Okay, he hasn't said that. Maybe that was a general assumption. Um, but knowing he kind of made the point early on, I don't have to worry about players and coaches and boosters and people like that anymore. I don't care anymore. I can say what I want to say. And so I'm excited to kind of pull some of the things out of him. And he said a few things as we've gone on. The other thing is Vince hasn't had the opportunity to do this a lot. He hasn't, or maybe he's had opportunities and declined them, but he hasn't been in the media a bunch in the last 10 years. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
That's a good way to put it.
And so this opportunity for him, he's been very engaged. He's loved doing it. We did a live stream with those guys from the Ohio State podcast last Friday at a tailgate
Very
from
nice.
4 to 7, and they were great. I mean, Mack and Vince were great. Um, they're as entertaining as ever, and I've just really enjoyed it from the perspective of the chemistry that we have has been really good off the start. My job is to get them to tell the stories that everybody wants to hear, right? I mean, try to lead them into, hey, in '04, you guys, we were talking about this week. '03, they were coming off the Washington State Holiday Bowl loss. Vince threw for like 15 yards. And then they came back. They lose to OU. They're playing Missouri. Vince is terrible, throws for 19 yards in that game. And after that game, they had to sit down and really have a conversation. And then, he didn't lose another game after OU. But to hear the way they tell those stories, I think is really good. And the other thing, they're very open and honest. This isn't like we're going to just hype Texas up. We asked Vince, what did you think of Arch's performance? He said, I'd give him a C minus.
Wow.
And that's something you have to do. Again, you've got to be able to be honest and have open and honest conversations about this stuff. And those guys so far have been really good about doing it. And for me, it's a blast to be able to do it with those two.
Okay, so you say Max done coaching. Now say just
I don't know. Now I'm going to get in trouble. Here we go. Max, I'm already
He could go
getting
back to
texts from
North
Max.
Carolina. He could go back to
I
Carolina.
was just gonna say you're reading my mind. If a certain school like North Carolina called, would he accept the call? Would he talk to him?
You know what? It's actually probably a really fair question that I need to ask him on our next podcast is, are your days of coaching over? Or if
Exactly.
someone, and we won't mention names, but if someone called, no, it is interesting though, because maybe that's just an assumption I make. He actually talked about Pete Carroll. It was really funny. He was like, Pete Carroll's running up and down the sideline, going crazy, whatever, and we're the same age.
Mhm.
And so he's a coach. I'm sure that stuff will never leave him. But please don't put those words in my mouth. He's gonna start texting me and telling me, what are you saying? You're already throwing me under the bus, telling me I'm done coaching. And I said, no.
Hey,
I'll blame Kirk, and then Mac will be okay with that.
good idea. Archie Manning talks out of school and he gets reprimanded by his grandson. So
That's
yeah,
right.
go ahead. Blame it on me. He'll believe you.
I'm telling you though, man, to hear Vince Young say you got to see mine, that carries a lot of weight, Bob. It does. And Vince Young, if anyone can speak on that position at Texas, it's VY. And so for him to say that, and to be real, because he knows the expectations, and Arch knows the expectations as well, speaks very highly of how seriously that he's taking this podcast. What's your favorite moment so far from these first 5 or 6 episodes you've done?
I would actually say my favorite moment probably came outside those, but it was kind of still in an interview setting. Last Friday, we were doing the live stream, and I asked if I could get those two guys to do our 6 o'clock show. Just, hey, can we tape something real quick? Great to be in Columbus, like the whole deal. And they had that RV set up for the guys as kind of like their green room, whatever. And there was this room, and we sat down on the couch, and right before we started, Max said something, and I said, hey, would you say that again when we started the interview? He goes, I will not say that again. I'm not going to repeat it. But I turned to Vince and I said, Vince, what's going to make the difference tomorrow for Texas? And he said, chemistry. I think chemistry for a young team, kind of like a young podcast. He goes, look at us. And he like puts his arm around me and hugs me, and then puts his arm around Mac and pulls us all in for a hug. He's like our chemistry's great. We're good. And I'm like, this is the greatest Longhorn legend sandwich anybody will ever be in. But I was like, this is like, I mean, I feel like we all do, to be very unbiased journalists. We try to, that was a moment that I'm like, what is going on right now? You know what I mean? That's said. But like, I don't know. Like, it was just one of those things that like, you do a lot of things in TV, you meet a lot of people, you talk to a lot of, I've always said the only interview I've ever done where I was like, what am I doing with my life right now, was interviewing Kobe Bryant back in like 2005. And it was just a 3-on-3 interview, 3 photographers, 3 reporters, and Kobe. And I was like, what is going on right now? And that was kind of a similar moment where I'm like, these are two people that are like, you could put them on the Mount Rushmore of Texas football.
Statues,
Whoever
the
you want to
statues are
consider.
coming. Statues are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're just acting like we've been best friends forever. And this, and it is the kind of chemistry I feel like we have in the podcast. Like we're all very, we can be open and honest with each other. We can ask each other questions. And so I think that's been a real, I didn't know how this was going to go. I didn't know what this would be like with these guys. And I feel like they are very open and honest, but they're very, Max texted me a few times, some things that are just very nice that you don't, I guess you just when you're in the media and you get into that stuff, you don't. I guess you just don't think about those things sometimes. And I said this to somebody else. I think and it probably goes for you guys too. I don't want to speak for you, but when you leave this business, I think the one thing all of us probably want is respect. We just want people, our peers and other people we've covered to say, I don't agree with what he did, or I agree with what he did, or whatever. But in the end, I respect the job that he did. And I feel like I'm on a level with those guys of respect. And I feel like that's like, it's nice. Like, it's just a nice kind of feeling of, we're not here to cheer. Maybe they are. I mean, they can do, they obviously went to Texas. They had, or said horns up.
Cheering.
Mack was here 16 years. Vince graduated from here. But all those things are, I think that's what you look for, is the respect factor of it. And both those guys I think have respect for me because of the job that I did and I've done over the last 18 years in Austin.
I'm going to tell you, the one thing you said was chemistry. I have no idea what it's like to have chemistry on a podcast. So that must be really, really great to have that kind of chemistry. And what are you looking for, Bohls? The UFOs. How did you get that in 8 episodes? We're coming up on 400 and we still can't find that chemistry.
I get it. I think what are we, 361 episodes behind you? Like we're right on your tail. We're right on your tail.
Right,
yeah, but we haven't ever hugged. We haven't ever hugged at all.
Now that's a lie.
I know we never hugged.
That is a lie. I know that.
Not on the podcast.
I'm sure Vince would like to hug Kirk from behind with his forearm on his carotid artery.
He and Mack both. I didn't get any of those nice texts from Mack.
No, but you know what?
What?
Listen, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think if you really stepped away from it, I guarantee you that Mack has respect for the job you guys do. Again, Ced, listen, you wrote a column. Was it 2012, the Kansas column? And that's the one I think we'll always, you know what I mean? Like you have something, everybody has something. I've said things about Mack on air. It's not we all did. We've all, and they're opinions. Sometimes they're truths, and sometimes the truth hurts. And I think we all go through those things. But, I also think when you step away from it, you're able to see that and I've said this for years in Austin. I think everybody here, for the most part, from start to finish since I've been here, everybody has done a pretty good job of never crossing lines, never, everything is, if you're a columnist, you have an opinion. A lot of your opinions are informed opinions from sources and people you talk to as well. And so I just think you know how much I respect you guys, but I think there would be a level of respect that you maybe unanticipated. And maybe I feel that way because I didn't anticipate it. And it's 100% there for us.
Have you gotten Mack's reaction to Ohio State game yet? Or I don't know if y'all have taped yet or not.
We have. Yep. It dropped this morning.
Okay.
Yeah. I think very similar things in terms of the reality of what happened in that game. Last week on our episode, he had 5 things that Texas needed to do to win the game, and they didn't do 3 of those 5. And so it's very easy to say, if you turn the ball over, if you don't score, literally one of them was score on the goal line. That was one of the 5 that he mentioned. So, that didn't happen. Penalties obviously were the killer on the first Ohio State drive, and then again on the safety. So, there's a very hard, and we can get into a little bit of the game. There's a very hard reality, I think, of boy, the things that they couldn't do, they did. Yet they still had the ball with 2 minutes to go, trying to go tie the game.
Just like last year.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's Quinn. They're first and goal on the 1, getting ready to tie the game with 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go. And so, with all the mistakes that this team made this year, to still put themselves in that position late, I think to Sark's point is a testament of their fight and their not give up. Because I think all of us, when it was 14-0 midway through the fourth quarter, and they don't get that 4th and goal at the 9, we're like, well, this is over.
It's over.
Right.
It's over.
It felt
Over.
that way. Felt that way.
Yeah. And then it wasn't. And so I think there's, we've got such a long season ahead. This team's going to grow and they'll be better. Arch will be better. I think all those things will happen. But, the national media response has been kind of hilarious to watch. Because again, I mean, you could go back through a million quarterbacks that have had horrible games, his uncles included, and it happens. It's football. I think he's going to develop and get better, and I don't think I'm out of touch for saying that.
No.
Hey, where's UTEP or Rice when you need them for an opener? Okay,
He needed that, Duck. He needed that.
You're not wrong. Mack and Vince both said that Louisiana, again, they were way better, but that Louisiana game in 05, and I will tell you, this was one of my favorite things. Mack said, because I made some kind of comment like, would you like a warm-up game or something before you play Ohio State?
right.
And Mack said a scrimmage. And I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, all offseason, we called the Louisiana game a scrimmage before we played Ohio State in 05. And he said, we obviously would never tell you guys that, but behind closed doors, we were calling it a scrimmage. And it was 60-3. I mean, he wasn't wrong. But there's something to be said. I'm sure they would have rather played UTEP to open the season and then played Ohio State and had that opportunity. But it is what it is, and you move on. And now you've got a month of 3 scrimmages and a bye, and then you get to October.
Yeah,
3 scrimmages. 3 scrimmages. And the worst part about those 3 scrimmages, Bob? We actually have to be there. Yeah, they usually don't let us watch scrimmages, but
and Ced, can you imagine the uproar if they don't play well in any of these games?
No, I'm assuming that they're going to blow these next 3 opponents out. College football is college football, and you just never know. But I'm assuming that Arch Manning bounces back. I'm assuming that they will pound a 37-point underdog. They just lost to the Chippewas of Central Michigan.
I'll tell you what. What I think will happen Saturday. I think C.J. Baxter and Quintravian Wisener will get.
They're going to run wild. They're going to run wild.
And I think everybody thinks, Arch is just going to come out and throw for 400. Yeah. I think they're going to run the ball to death on Saturday.
I do too, but don't they have to get Arch right?
Yeah,
they got to get him going. Got to get him going, Doug.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% they do.
And speaking of that, guys, I don't know how much you blame Sark for the game plan personally, and he even said I needed to run Arch more early, and I agree with that. But I think he didn't use the tight end enough in the first half, who's a real weapon. And I think a little more safe patterns like curl routes or more passes to the backs. But how much do you two kind of blame Sark's approach for that game?
I'm going to say this. Arch couldn't complete a short pass. You call him safe, but if you're throwing bounce passes, I don't care how safe it is. He couldn't complete a simple pass, the kind of passes that got Quinn Ewers in the NFL. I mean, Arch is a downtown type quarterback, more Marino than Montana. We know that. He's got to work on the short stuff. He can't be Steph Curry all day long.
He's an anti-Quinn.
Joe Johnson going. Yeah, some short, mid-range stuff. And Jack Hendricks is that guy. He can get open. He's got good hands. That was one hell of a connection there late in the fourth quarter. Because that's Arch's strength is throwing deep. But I think that guy is going to be a major factor. But he's got to get Arch acclimated. I think if he had run a couple of design runs and get him hit, wake him up, because sometimes a boxer needs to get hit before he gets into a fight. And so Arch even said it. I don't mind getting hit. I never have. But he hadn't been hit since the last time they played Ohio State. That's a long time between tackles. So hopefully they're going to keep him clean. They'll keep him clean against San Jose State. They'll get turnovers.
Bob, what do you think about Sark's approach?
Yeah, listen, I think the first play told us a whole lot. It was a incredibly well executed play. DeAndre Moore was wide open. And if he catches that ball and beats the defender, it's going to go for either 30 or possibly 70.
And everything changes. Everything changes.
And everything changes. And he bounced it.
Yeah.
And it was 3 yards short. It wasn't like it was he missed him one way. It was 3 yards short. And I think, that was kind of his first 3 quarters. Maybe in the third quarter, a little better. But again, it's his first game in that atmosphere on the road, all those things. And you're nervous anyway because it's your first start. I don't. There's also something to me to be said as much as he can say, I want him to get hit. I want him to do all those things. You also can't lose him for the year.
No.
And as he's going to run the ball when they get into bigger games. I think we all know that. That's not I think this month will be a test in let's run the football with CJ and Quintravian. Let's get Christian Clark some touches. Let's get Jarrett Gibson some touches. And then let's get Parker and Ryan and DeAndre really involved. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Arch running, but when they play Florida in October, I think we'll start to see that right off the bat.
Yeah.
But Sark's got to learn this team too. As much as he's had him in the offseason for 8 months, when you get him into a game, that's different. And you've got to know kind of who they're going to become and what they're going to be. And it's going to be that way when you're learning your new team. How can I treat these guys? What do I want to do? For Sark to say I should have run him earlier was a pretty big admission to me.
Right.
And I think that's a step that you go, okay, he recognizes it. Arch was bouncing passes. So some of the things he probably wanted to call, maybe he didn't, or I don't know. I don't know where that went in the first half. But when they sat him down, well, I was just gonna say when they sat him down at the half, it got better in the second half and they adjusted and they were back in it. So again, you're learning, and the good thing about that is they learned a ton. Either way, win or lose that game, you learn a ton. And now when we get to October in those bigger environments, in those bigger games, I have a better idea of what I need to do early to get my quarterback to go.
No, I agree with that. And the one thing, Arch is pretty much the anti-Quinn from every level,
Yeah.
Except they're both like top recruits in the nation, is that Quinn had as good a touch on the ball as any quarterback at Texas I've ever seen. And that's where Arch has to learn that. He's a one speed. He rifled that one into Ryan Wingo a couple of times. He's got to learn that touch, and maybe that's partly with the nerves and things like that. The other thing where I blame Sark was not going for it on the 45-yard line. In the first half, we had a minute left, a little less, 4th and 2. And I didn't see all gas, no brakes. I just saw brakes. And I thought that sent a bad message to his offense. Like,
I don't think especially Arch.
Yes. He said, I don't think he can get 2 yards.
I get that, but I also see the side of it where you say, if we don't get it, if he throws a bad pass or we do something where we don't get the first down, and they had a 4th and 2 in that first drive and also didn't get it there when they ran it up the middle. But if you don't get that, and then Ohio State goes and scores, and it's 10 or 14-0 at the half, you're feeling a lot worse than just we're only down a touchdown. Let's settle. Let's get to the locker room and calm down. Let's settle. The other thing that I think was kind of interesting, and again, Sark would never do it. So this is not me saying this is something he should have done. But on 4th and 1 at the 1, if he kicks the field goal, it's 7-3. If they get down inside the 10 again and he kicks the field goal good, now it's 14-6. Now you get the ball back and he hits Parker Livingston, you can go for 2 and tie the game. Sark over the years has been very hesitant to kick field goals in situations of 4th and 1, 4th and 2. That's fine. That's who he is. That's totally fine. You know that going in. But I think there's something to be said for in a game that you can tell is going to be a defensive battle. Again, I know that situation was probably not the one where he's ever going to kick a field goal on 4th and 1 from the 1, but just the hindsight of it is like, man, if you kick the field goal there, now it's 7-3 and you're putting a little pressure on Ohio State and your defense is playing great, get a stop, go have another big drive, and now maybe you take the lead at 10-7. I'm not saying he was wrong to go for it. I'm just saying there are two sides to everything, and you'd pinned him on the 1, you get a safety, well, now the safety comes out, so these things happen. I get it. I just think there's something to be said for early on. Maybe every now and then he kicks the field goal just to see, hey, later in the game, does this help us?
The other point though is a new kicker too.
Right.
From the 1 yard line? Come on.
From the 1.
Hey, Bert Auburn, he can't miss two
You could
field
have gone,
goals
you could have
against
waddled
Arizona.
out there and kicked a 17-yard field
Bert
goal.
Auburn, 2 words. Bert Auburn,
He's
Arizona
not Bert
State.
Auburn. Bert Auburn didn't even win the job in
The
Miami.
job at
I
Miami.
know
Did not
that.
even win the job in
We
Miami.
don't know what Mason Shipley is yet.
Yeah, well, and I don't disagree with him for going for it,
Yeah, I don't either. I don't
but
either.
I'm going to tell you guys something. Here's something that I think about Sark. I think he carries scar tissue. I do. I think their failures in the red zone over the years, he doesn't forget anything. He remembers not getting it in against TCU with Bijan. He remembers the OU game when they couldn't punch it in from the doorstep. He remembers Ohio State this past year, and when we talk about punting it in the last minute inside Ohio State territory, he remembers Travion Henderson taking
Right.
it the distance right before the half last season. I think those things kind of play in his mind, and it's human nature. I don't blame him for that, but he's going to have to wipe that slate clean, and they've got to blow out these next three opponents, and Arch Manning's got to reemerge in all the right ways because I don't think San Jose State's going to pose much of a threat, but they need him to get his numbers, and they need his running backs to get their numbers, and they got to get takeaways on defense. And Arch Manning needs to sit the fourth quarter and feel like the alpha dog that we know him to be.
And you want to get Matt Caldwell some reps too. I mean, that's going to be important if something were to happen. But yeah, to your point, and I think I'd mentioned to you this at some point. I went back to read, I was trying to look up. Matt Ryan was at Horseshoe Bay over the summer, and I was reading some articles about him and what happened with Sark in that second year he was there. Their numbers offensively, his second year with Matt Ryan, were as good as the Super Bowl year 2 years prior when Sark wasn't there. And I mean, Matt Ryan's numbers were off the charts, and they went 7-9, and then they fired the whole offensive staff. And one of the articles said part of the reason for the firing was that Sark's offense had red zone issues and all these things. And so, to your point, if it's something you've carried with you over the years, it's something you're going to think about a lot. And if you don't think he was thinking about it a lot, ask when Kirk asked him, he had that fireball ready to go before Ohio State. He knew someone was going to ask, and he was just sitting on it
You
waiting.
want a stat? You want a stat?
It's you want a stat? I got a stat, which is again, it's he's not wrong because he wants to show the improvement, but he also knows that's coming because it's been an issue. And so there is something to be said on that point too. Their red zone issues have got to get better. And when it happens off the bat and you're 0 for 2 in the red zone from inside the 10-yard line, I think that's again the mental thing. It happens to everybody in some way or form during your life, but the mental stuff comes back to you and you can't let it go.
And he can't let it go until he solves it. And
Right.
they now rank tied for last in FBS in the red zone because they're 0 for 2. They were tied for 124th with
That's the
13
stat.
other teams.
That's the
And
stat.
listen, hey, follow it, not what happens these next 3 weeks. Now, if it goes bad, obviously there's something there. But you don't want to you want to see what they do against Florida in the red zone, what they do
Sure.
against Georgia in the red zone, like the bigger games that they play, because that's where it matters. And that's
Yeah.
where they've got to figure out a way. And again, to that point, when you watch other teams against Texas in the red zone, a lot of times, like from the one, it's like there's a hole the size of a truck.
Yeah,
And it's
Georgia.
like, how? Like, how is this
Yeah.
possible? And then Texas gets down there and they can't do it. And
Got to
so,
block them.
Hey,
Got to block
Georgia
them.
had 5 rushing touchdowns inside the 10-yard line against Texas in 2 games last year. And it's kind of a mano a mano thing. It's a manhood thing. And
yeah,
I just wish he would vary it up a little bit, throw a pop pass to the tight end, a little reverse account, not a toss sweep, mind you, not a toss sweep, okay? But maybe give it to Jarrett Gibson or something. Just he ran in the middle of the line 3 times, twice with Arch and one with CJ. And otherwise, I thought the offensive line did pretty well. I mean, they protected him well. Arch had a lot of time. So, I know you guys are a little more negative than I am, but I'd say the offense,
always.
yeah, it's understood. But the offensive line I thought played pretty well, and the
Yep.
defense was gangbusters. I really liked what I saw from the defense. The defensive line was stout. Leona Leafau,
Play great.
terrific
Play
game.
great.
Grayson Littleton, you know, were y'all as impressed with the defense as I was?
They needed to. They
I,
needed to get some balls on the ground. They
I
needed
yep.
to
mean, threw
make it
20
easier for them.
passes. you know.
Yeah. Well, they still need to get him on. They hit him twice in the whole game.
They were so safe.
Touchdown
They're all
twice.
around the line of scrimmage. He hardly threw a deep ball other than
I,
the touchdown.
I think that was the thing. There weren't a lot of opportunities other than trying to hit a ball out of a running back's arms.
Right.
Real quick back to the red zone. I just think one of the things he's got to do at some point is be super creative, and everybody talks about what a great play caller he is, and he is. I've seen teams on the one snap it in between the quarterback's legs. They did that last year. Snap it to the tight end and let him go in. Let
Chiefs, Kansas
something where
City
you
Chiefs.
throw back
That's
to
what
a.
they
I
did.
don't know, but they've just got to figure something out. And there are a lot of creative ways to try a pop pass from Arch last year when he's just coming in the game. They never did that. Like
Never.
there are things that at some point I think they got to do. To the defensive point, real quick, that they were tremendous. I just the two touchdown drives. I mean, you got 30 yards in penalties, and that's basically the only reason they had fourth and goal at the one. I mean, they got it on the 8, they went to the 6, to the 4, to the 1, and then
Right.
got in on fourth and 1. Like that's, I mean, their defense held, I thought, really well. They had the one miss. The Jalen Gilbo got beat on that long ball, but they didn't give up a lot, and especially to Jeremiah Smith again for the second straight game to hold him down. And I know Ohio State didn't need to do a lot because they probably felt pretty comfortable in where they were. Like, let's let them beat us if they can. But it'll be interesting to see how Julian Sain and that offense develop this year
Will.
as we get to December and January. Are we saying they're still not very good offensively, or the Texas defense is that good?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you real quick, Sid. I know we're getting short. I know we're getting short,
He's
but
got he's got another gig, so hurry up, old
just real
man.
I'm
quick here.
good. I'm good.
Bob's an AP top 25 voter again this year after last year. You dropped Texas to 6, I think, right?
I did.
You
I
dropped
dropped
them
them.
out of the top 25 altogether, Kirk, because I know you're fluid.
Here you
Were
go.
they? Were they?
8th. I put them 8th.
Horrible.
And 5 voters had them outside the top 10. Can you go into your poll thinking and why you decided to put them 6, Bob?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think just kind of watching those other five teams, and I may miss one off the top of my head that I have in front of them, but I think watching those other five teams, especially the way LSU handled Clemson in that late in that game, I thought was pretty impressive. I think for Miami to do what they did to Notre Dame and what that Notre Dame team could be.
Hmm.
Ohio. I started the year with Ohio State ranked number one. I will do that a lot for. I just feel like a team's deserving. If they won it last year, I know maybe you lose a lot or whatever, but if you got a guy like Ryan Day as your coach and you've still got a ton of talent, I like sticking them at number one. I did that with UConn in basketball the last 2 years where I was like, they still deserve it, and then they won it, and then they came back again. But yeah, I think Ohio State and Penn State and LSU and Miami, and there was one other team, and it's just not hitting me right off the top. But
I
I
had
don't think
Florida State. I had Florida State in my
I
top 5.
I did not, because I started the year with Alabama 15th, and I got absolutely destroyed by Crimson Tide fans online in the preseason. And then I didn't hear from them after Saturday, which I thought was weird. Um,
Shocker.
but yeah, but I listen, Texas, I think Texas showed enough defensively to say this team's going to be really good this year. If the offense starts to click the way I think people think it will, or at least gets better. I mean, they gave up 14 points on the road to the
Yeah.
number 1 or 2 or 3 team, whatever you consider them.
203 yards.
They're gonna be pretty good. And it's kind of the same thing with Notre Dame and Clemson. It's not like they lose those games and you go, they're 25th now.
Right.
I dropped them 4 or 5 spots from where I had them, but I'll kind of stick to my poll until somebody proves me wrong. Even watching games, I think sometimes doesn't tell you the whole story. I think you can watch a team go, well, they look terrible. It's college football. There's probably a week or two every year where a team's not going to be at its best, but they'll be pretty good for the rest of the time. And so we'll see. I mean, I think the first 5 or 6 weeks of this poll is just kind of fun moving parts of wait,
Yes,
wait,
sir.
here. Then we really find out in October who these teams are.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it. Absolutely love it. It's the most, and I think people ask a lot about how do you do a poll? Like, how do you go about it? I think it's fun to go back and go through play by play of the game. How did this thing unfold? Go back and watch not just the highlights, but like YouTube will have 13, 14, 15-minute either every play or most of the plays from the game, and you get to see things develop. So those are the fun things about being a pollster. I know Kirk has always told me he loves staying up till 2 in the morning when we had Pac-12 after dark and getting to watch the end of that game, doing your poll and getting ready for Sunday morning. But it's a blast. I mean, all of this is why we do this. We love college football. We love the opportunity to watch these teams play and get to see who they are. And it's another year of doing it. And here we go.
It's so fun staying up late. I have my routine. I carry Ced back to his hotel room, and then I turn on all the late games so I can watch and fill out my polls. So, right, Ced?
It's a perfect way to do it.
The day
Yeah.
he
I
ca-
don't. Hey, Kirk.
the day he
What?
carries me anywhere is the day he's in a wheelchair.
Kirk, don't forget, I don't have a lot of people to carry. So the fact that you can carry Ced, I think, is testament.
Well, some people believe he's been carrying me for about 20 years. So I don't know that I
Uh,
disagree with that.
oh, this was fun.
Um,
This
Bob,
was
man, we
fun.
we so appreciate it, brother. And he's very popular in Austin, but he's not even the most popular person in his own family. That would be Mrs. Cheryl Ballou, my buddy, who I can't wait to see in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl in about a month. She is an avid listener of On Second Thought, and I know she's probably become a turncoat to listen to the Stampede. Can't get mad about that, but just give us a little bit of love too, Miss Cheryl. We still
I,
love you.
I I want you to know I told her beforehand that we had talked today about some things, and she was like, "Hope your day goes well. Very nice, whatever." And when I told her I was going on with you, she lost it. Her all capital letters, love, hearts, like, please tell those guys hello. I love them so much, all those things. And so she'll be waiting with a corny dog and a beer for you at the fair. She'll be waiting on
Cannot
you.
wait. Make sure to tell her you can see it on YouTube. She can see our smiling faces on the
I
YouTube
will.
version. So, because
Absolutely.
I think she listens too, but yeah, we're doing YouTube as well. But Bob, man, we appreciate it. Check out the Stampede. It's on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts with Bob Ballou, Vince Young, and Mac Brown. It's well worth a listen. Yes, Duck.
And hey, give Mac and Vince hugs from me and Ced, okay?
And I will let you know how that goes when I do.
I know you will.
All
Take
right,
care,
take care,
Bob.
brother.
Love you, man.
Love you guys.